Welcome to Inappropriate Growth, the podcast where we get real about the grind behind the glory. I'm Paul, your host, and I'm here to take you on a journey through the untold stories of business triumphs. We might raise some eyebrows, but it's all about the hustle and we don't fit the mold. Here we're talking about the kind of effort that doesn't just push the envelope, it shreds it to pieces. We're building a community where the norm is to defy norms. So buckle up, because we're diving deep into the beginnings that were anything but humble. The times when giving up seemed like the only option. We'll also dig into all of those wild, insane, and out-of-the-box strategies that led to massive growth. From growth hacks to best practices, this podcast will be fast, furious, and should be a whole lot of fun. Join us as we redefine what it means to grow and turn business growth into an art form. Welcome to Inappropriate Growth.
We've got another episode of Inappropriate Growth, and we have another good one. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Miss Harmony Woodington. I will admit that this interview shocked me, blew me away. Harmony and I only met recently, and we've never really actually spoken live prior to this interview. You'll see what I mean. She's a force. This woman is a direct descendant of Helen of Troy, a legit goddess, and she spits fire and approaches everything she does with an uncommonly fierce certainty. She's not just an executive coach and a best-selling author. She's a highly sought-after hypnotist and a professional expansion specialist. She's dedicated over a decade to helping individuals and organizations unlock their full potential. She guides her clients through a journey of self-discovery and emotional mastery. Her mission to create a ripple effect of love and leadership will transform the corporate environment from the inside out. In this episode, we'll explore Harmony's own transformative journey, her innovative approach to personal growth, and how she's helping professionals around the world conquer their emotions, update their mental operating systems, and step into their true power. Brace yourself as we uncover the secrets to becoming an unstoppable force with Harmony Woodington. You're going to love this. Ready?
Yeah.
Is the bird ready?
Oh yeah, he's snuggled in. He's good.
All right, welcome to another episode of Inappropriate Growth. This, I believe, is season 1, episode 4. And I'm very excited to have Miss Harmony Woodington. Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Harmony, why don't you let everybody know where you're at and what you do?
So where I'm at, which is where I've been my whole life, is Vancouver, BC, Canada. I grew up here. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world to be, as far as I'm concerned, because we've got the ocean and the mountains and everything here, and desert isn't far away if we want it as well. And I am an executive coach. I work with professionals and entrepreneurs. And one of the things that makes me very unique is the fact that my foundational work is actually in clinical hypnotherapy and energy work. So what I specialize in is helping you to create a harmonious relationship with your mind and body and learning how to work with it. One of the most important things that we need to keep in mind is that when we have our health, we wish for everything. But when we lose our health, we wish for one thing. So you can amass as much money as you want, but if your health fails, like certain people have shown us, like Steve Jobs, for example, there's no amount of money that's going to save you. So making it a priority to learn how to work with this beautiful physical vessel that you have and how to optimize it so that you can have quality of life for a very, very long time. And you're not in that place where that trauma, those experiences that you have had in your past, then turn into physical ailments that you can't work your way out of. It doesn't have to be a thing. It doesn't have to be in your future. And we have scientific proof through medical research that has been done in Germany that has actually shown that actual trauma translates into physical health issues, including cancer. So this isn't a stage in the world where we can deny this anymore. So making it a priority to honor and to create a relationship with yourself first, and then to allow for that beautiful internal ecosystem that you developed to then translate into a beautiful external ecosystem is the right way to go about it. In this world, we focus on creating an external ecosystem, neglecting the internal. And it's a matter of time before the internal ruins the external, or it becomes an afterthought. So in all reality, that is what the energy integration system, the program that I've spent a decade developing with proof of concept, because it was developed as I was working with clients, giving them resolution over the last decade, does. It teaches you how to understand your body and how it functions and how to work with it to optimize it, how your beautiful mental operating system functions and how to update it to meet your current agenda. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And whenever I hear just, I mean, I don't want to oversimplify anything that you said, because obviously it's a lot. But whenever I hear someone say, you got to take care of yourself first, the first thing, the image that pops in my head is we've all been on an airplane when the flight attendant's explaining in a case of a cabin pressure, the air masks are going to drop out of the ceiling. I can only imagine how terrifying that must feel, but they always say the same thing. They always say, be sure before you put your child's mask on, put your own mask on. And they explain, because if cabin pressure causes you to lose consciousness, possible the child can't put it on you, but you could revive it. It makes perfect logical sense when they're explaining it. But I always wondered, if I'm on an airplane with my child and the mask drop down, would I be logical and smart and follow instructions and put mine on first? Or would I trust my gut instincts and put it on my child first? Because logically, it makes sense to take care of yourself first. And I believe that personally, financially, professionally. If you take care of yourself first, you can have a bigger impact. But if you neglect yourself, you just really limit not just your own success, but hopefully everyone that's interacting in the world, especially as a coach. Your clients are benefiting from that interaction, right? And the better shape you're in, the more people can benefit from interacting with you. And that's kind of the same. That's where my brain goes every time, but it's always the visual of
it's a beautiful analogy. It really is. And it's really important to think about. And, I coach with people that are in all different spectrums, but, some people are up there in age and they've made the multi-millions, and yet the whole time they were neglecting their health. So now they're in a place where, they're overweight, they're dealing with all sorts of health issues, and they've got the millions in the bank and it's not saving them. And it takes me coming in and helping them to understand what it is that they need to do to optimize their health. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm telling them what the doctors don't tell them. And it's actually the thing that makes a difference. One of my clients in particular was very angry at his doctor because I told him something his doctor didn't. And he turned around and had a conversation with his doctor and wanted to fire the doctor because of it. You know what I mean? So you've got to be willing to focus on what matters first and foremost, because if your health is compromised, if an opportunity shows up, you're not going to have the strength and energy to seize it. If you've got all the money in your bank account and you're not healthy, then you can't travel to enjoy it. What good is that money that you've worked almost your whole life for if you don't have the wherewithal to be able to show up and appreciate it, or to go and enjoy it with your family, your children, your grandchildren, because you don't have the health? And you dreamt of doing that, but now that you're there, you can't do the things that you dreamed of. Health has to come first. You have to come first. And the people that you serve, the people that you love, the people you want to enjoy life with, you do it from a place of abundance because your energy and your health is overflowing and abundant, right?
100% agree. Well, I guess backing up a little bit, can you think of a pivotal moment when you realized that, like you said, success is more than financial gain? How did that shape the development of the integration system?
Really interesting that you come at it from that perspective. So really, in all reality, the whole reason that my program was born in the first place was because I had a massive existential crisis myself, being raised Mormon, and my father attempted suicide. He tried to end his life and he ended up in the hospital. And there were things that he said when I orchestrated him being put in a facility where he could be watched until we knew that he was good, that ripped me out of the faith that I was raised in. And the person that I was dictated to me by my faith. And so I lost my sense of identity. And in trying to reconcile that and walking the path to reconcile my childhood, my past experiences, my trauma, I wasn't able to get resolution in the allopathic world. And we're talking about counseling, psychology, psychiatry. They were not able to honor the spiritual journey that I needed to go through. And so I ended up having to look outside of the box in order to find that resolution. And I know there's many people that feel that way as well. So I walked this path over like 7 years, playing with different practitioners, discovering things, certifying in things, because when I become passionate about something, I don't just want to learn it, I want to become it. So
I'm either going to be an expert or I'm going to know nothing.
yeah, I'm really maximum effort with everything I do. And so as a result, I ended up certifying in the modalities that helped me to expand and heal and reconcile my own past experiences and redefine myself. And I was so excited that I wanted to create all of it under one roof for people to consume. So they didn't have to search all over the place the way that I did. And I've also provided an unconditionally loving cheerleader to guide them on the path that I wish I had. Man, I wish I had that. I wish I had me. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm a lifetime learner, and I consider any day I learn something new a good day. But every once in a while, what I learn, it's like, wow, that would have been helpful if I'd have learned it 30 years ago.
Pass that wisdom over to others. So if you ask me what the pivotal moment was, it was that moment where I was sitting there with a cup of tea, looking at an ocean view, realizing I had completely redefined myself and my whole life. And I wanted to provide that to others. And that was when I started creating my program. And over the last decade, it's evolved into what it is.
Okay. Well, in a society, and I've seen this, I'm sure you have, that often equates success with sacrifice and hard work. How does EIS redefine success for what we would consider modern professionals?
Such a beautiful question, because I was just recently in Florida, and I very much realized when I was down there that there's a lot of people that are exhibiting a lot of wealth and they have the external success. And yet when you get into it and you spend time with them, they're deeply insecure and self-loathing, and they have all of that stuff around them because they want somebody to tell them that they're worth something.
Were you
And
in
they're
Miami by any chance? I've
The
spent time in
money.
Miami, and you sound like you're describing where I was.
Yeah, the money does not give you self-worth. It does not fill the void that is in your soul. And anybody that has made that money knows it. They don't feel successful. They feel like a fraud. Deep inside, they still feel lacking. That inner child is still screaming for attention. The only thing that fills that void is running into you, falling in love with you, reconciling your past experiences, and creating that beautiful internal ecosystem. And then creating the external to match it, right? Which is why I was saying a lot of people focus on the external first, and they're doing it backwards. Because imagine if we lived in a world where we were taught the language of the mind and the body, we were taught emotional intelligence, we were taught energetic intelligence, we were taught to nurture and love ourselves, we were taught to look within for wisdom and to know when to look without for wisdom. And we grew up reconciling the trauma as it happened, doing the healing and expanding work, understanding why we're here in this life and stepping into it. And then when we're old enough to actually make money and create a career and do all of these things in our life, we're amplifying the beauty we already have within. What would this world be? I mean, you can drop the mic on that. You know what I mean?
Well, what do you, in that vein, what do you think are some common misconceptions about personal growth that EIS helps to dispel?
Oh, that's such a beautiful question. Thank you. There's a monster in the closet that you should be afraid of, so don't ever do the work. Is what everybody thinks, right? When we think about the idea of revisiting our past trauma, it's this idea of this monster in a closet that I buried a long time ago. Why would you want me to go anywhere near that? Like, I
When you
don't
say
want to
monster in a
go.
closet, I have this irrational fear when I open closets that a bowling ball is going to fall and hit me in the head. I don't even own one. I don't have a bowling ball, but I've seen too many cartoons or comedies where bowling balls must have fallen out of the top shelf of a closet. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No, it's
something like that
totally
pops in
fine.
my head, it comes out.
But that essentially is it is a true belief if you're stepping into the allopathic world to do the work, because they will make you bathe in your past trauma. That is not how I play. What I am concerned about is what the residual lasting effects are. So what programs were created as a result of the past trauma that you experienced? What energy are you holding on to as a result of that? So we're looking at what the fallout is and what is currently existing in your internal ecosystem right now that needs to be updated and released so that you can move on and expand. So the whole concept of a monster in the closet and me making you revisit your pain, that's not a thing.
Well, it didn't
It's
really
not.
happen. I didn't really have a bowling ball roll out.
But that's really important. And a lot of people think that if they sign up to do the work, that there's gonna be massive emotional upheaval and they're gonna have to take a time out from their life. I've heard a lot of people say that. They're like, I just don't have the time and space to like hold space for this because like it's gonna be massive and I'm gonna have to like take a time out from my job or go on leave or something, because a lot of people generally tend to take a mental health break when they actually have a mental breakdown and then they're forced on mental health leave, right? And so that's what they think. There's a nervous
I'm in the
breakdown.
United States. We don't have no concept of that.
Yeah, you don't slow down for anything,
I
right?
just say be less crazy and get back to work.
Yeah, or be in your crazy but still get to work.
Use it as energy.
It doesn't usually slow you down until there's a serious health crisis. Like usually, like I had a girlfriend who actually had she was a VP of IT of a multi-million-dollar publicly traded company that she helped grow. And she had a nervous breakdown at work and could not read the words on the computer, couldn't make a sentence. Like her brain just fried. And she ended up in the hospital and was forced to take a time out. And she went back to work like most people. And then it happened again. And then she realized very quickly that if she didn't smarten up, that it was going to get worse. So she ultimately found a replacement and retired with copious amounts of stock, and she hasn't worked ever since. So it worked out well financially, but then she spent the next decade stepping up and doing the healing work for herself. And it was absolutely beautiful.
Now, is
When
this
you
a
think
client of
about it,
yours?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you don't have to wait until that massive crisis shows up to then do the work when you're in a massive state of emergency and you've been forced to take a time out from your life. A lot of people do. And so that's why they think that there's going to be all this upheaval and they're going to have to take a time out. When you work with me, you get resolution with every session. When you work with me, you get resolution and support to strategize in your career, in your romantic relationship, with your children, with your family, with whatever aspect of your life you need resolution in and to thrive right now. You've got support to do that. So if you've been thrown into a leadership role, like one of my clients, everybody retired above him. And he was like thrown into this leadership role and going, those are clown shoes. I can't fit those. I'm terrified. I'm not, oh my gosh. And so he hired me. And within 6 months, he actually ended up pivoting companies because the company he was working with was unethical, but ended up with a company where he's playing a massive leadership role and has created a beautiful team under him and is doing things that now the people above him are going, what did you do and how do we duplicate that? When you do the internal work and you learn how to play in a very different way, the external success comes. Every client that I've ever worked with has created huge success for them. One of my clients was working for 25 years on her own business and never created the amount of success that she created in her new business since working with me. She did better in her year this year in 2023 than she did in 25 years of running her own business. Why? because her programs were blocking her from creating that success. So we can give people strategy and we can give people tools, but if they have programs and things that are blocking them, they can only go so far, which is why that work needs to be done internally to then allow for the external to flow with more ease. So they understand that success can be external, but true lasting success that endures is the success that starts with that internal ecosystem being developed first. Because how many people do you know that are successful that didn't get to enjoy the success because of a health crisis or self-sabotage?
Now you're enjoying some success and you're actually making some impacts and you're making some transformative changes with your system. Tell me about, I mean, I know when you kind of had a transformative and you kind of went deep into all of these other types of paradigms, but what was it like? I mean, what probably wasn't all, a giant book of business. There had to be some times on your journey, especially early, where you wondered, am I really going to make an impact? Is this something that I can do as a profession?
I never asked myself that question because I just get so excited when I get an idea of something. I don't see failure, and I'm just like, I'm a force of nature. Um, so like I just go, and I use intuition as my guide. And I had enough of a warm audience that I was already working with because I had a previous business where I was actually putting people in a place where they needed to trust me anyways. So my previous career was in aesthetics. I ran a spa. And one of the things that I did was eyelashes. And so I had all these clients that were coming and they were laying on a table and they were closing their eyes and they literally had blind trust for me. So these people that I was working with, I'd be like, hey, while you're laying down, can I hypnotize you? And they were so relaxed. They were like, yeah, I don't want to get off the bed. Do your thing. So I was able to actually transition and create word of mouth from my business through working with these people that I already was working with in my previous business. And I had security as well because of my previous business. So I was able to actually rely on the finances that were coming in through my previous business and not have insecurity as to whether this one was going to fly or not. I was able to just play without worrying about failure, which I don't believe in, and then just allow it to grow in its own time. So I had that duality, actually 3 businesses on the go before COVID. And so I had income coming in from 3 different businesses and was very secure as I was developing this. And then COVID came and ripped all 3 of them out from under me because I couldn't see anybody in person anymore. And my healing business was in person. My lashes, I had to touch people to do it. So, and then my other business was taken away for other reasons as a result of COVID. So that was when I took a moment and said, okay, I feel like I'm being shut down and everything's being torn away from me for a reason. And I think it's because it's time for me to focus on the coaching business 100%. So I have purely devoted my attention 100% to my coaching business. And when somebody pitches me on getting into another thing, I'm like, I love you. I appreciate you. I wish you success, but I'm not diversifying at this point. So this is my sole focus since COVID. And I don't believe in failure. So if something happens and the path that I'm taking doesn't work for me, then I pivot and keep going.
Okay. Well, and I don't, not in a limiting way, but how would EIS help individuals navigate the pressures of the corporate world, right? While maintaining their personal values and relationships? Because I imagine that's a fear.
Yeah, that's a really big deal because I was actually, I have a client that's in IT and he's in corporate and he works for a massive, massive company and he's been with them for 10 years at this point. And that is actually a big struggle, is that so much of the time it feels like you as a person isn't being honored, right? Like when you're asked to create goals for the year for yourself, you're allowed to create like a business goal and a personal goal, but is it a personal goal? Because the last time I checked, the personal goal has to benefit them, right? If it's not benefiting them, they're not going to finance it, right? So it's got to be like my personal goal is to learn how to do Google whatever. And then they'll finance that because you're learning skills that are going to benefit them, right?
So it's
So,
professional goals, and then personal goals professionally.
well, that's exactly it. They're not going to, unless they are a company that is playing in a new way, and wants to create a different ecosystem and honors the person you are, like I do with my employees. Their personal life matters to me, and I very much honor that. Most corporations don't. They only do things that benefit them. And if that's the case, then it's a matter of you being responsible for the duality, which means that in your business life, you are creating goals and strategy and everything to be successful in your career. And then you're creating a completely different goal spreadsheet for yourself, for your personal life, and creating a completely separate identity for that as well. So you are one person and have one set of goals in your career or business, and you are a different person and have a completely different set of goals for your personal life. So it's not about the corporation accommodating you. It's about you accommodating you and prioritizing you. Does that make sense?
It does. It sounds like, but I bet there's a point where they're hanging on, where it's clear maybe to you and maybe even to them that they're outgrowing their employer, both
There
personally
are
and
times
professionally.
there, yeah, so there's a client that I work with that's in government, and he was dealing with a particular toxic direct report. And it was really bad to the point where if he hadn't been working with me, he would have exited the building. He absolutely would have. Because without my cheerleading and helping him strategize, he would have literally had a nervous breakdown and had to quit because she was that abusive. She was flat out abusive. And I'm not here blaming her. She's been through a lot, and she hadn't reconciled the trauma that she had from having to work to get to where she's gotten to. A lot of women have to endure a lot of stuff to get into a leadership position. And every single one of those beautiful goddesses should be getting mental health support to reconcile that, so they don't become a dragon lady in the leadership position, but many don't. So she was one of those. And so I helped him to manage things, but eventually it came to a head, and I helped him to strategize going to executive. And his most knee-jerk reaction of a person that's being abused and is having a difficult time with their direct report is to talk to them about their feelings and to talk about what's going on and the toxicity. The exec does not care about your feelings. It's
No.
not their job to care about your feelings. So if you come with your snowflake attitude and whine and complain about how you're being hurt, you're not going to be met with a beautiful response, right? So what we did was I held space for the emotional side of things, and I helped him strategize going to them from a position where he was able to help them understand how it was affecting them from a financial standpoint. It was hurting their bottom line because she was holding up the development of certain projects and stuff like that, and not allowing people to perform to the capacity. And when they were understanding that, they moved so fast that it was unbelievable. And he was pivoted into a different position under a different direct report. And it also put him on their radar. So now they actually understood what an asset he was, and they were utilizing him for everything that he was. And his career has skyrocketed since that happened. And give it a couple of months, and all of a sudden she's put in a corner somewhere where she can't do any damage. So it worked out beautifully because he had somebody who had his back to honor the mental health stuff, to honor the emotions, and to help him strategize effectively in the corporate space to get the result that he wanted.
Well, a lot of your examples, I'm noticing kind of a theme. The theme I'm hearing is these are a lot of executives, these are a lot of directors, these are a lot of employees. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs? People like myself or like yourself that might be on the brink of burnout. They fear that slowing down, though, might mean they're giving up on whatever their dreams or goals were.
I have been blessed to work with a lot of entrepreneurs as well. It's so funny that the top of mind examples have been from people that are in corporate and such, but there are absolutely a number of them. And one of the most beautiful ones that comes to mind for me when you started to talk about that was a business owner that actually was really helping out a lot of people because he came from a place of addiction, and he'd been clean for 10 years himself. And so everyone that he was employing were actually people that had just recently become clean and struggled to find work. And so he was creating that safe space for them. And as a result of that, there was a lot of drama. he also hadn't learned himself, coming from the environment that he had, how to motivate, not coming from a place of anger and creating fear in his employees, because he trusted his ability to yell and scream and motivate, right?
Mm.
Especially in the blue collar world. And I had to teach him to learn how to shift, to become a mentor, to become a leader, and to learn how to motivate with love. And when I taught him the strategies to do that, to actually hold space for these people, to help them to continue to grow and to heal, and to then maybe become leaders just like he is one day, to inspire instead of create fear, his business exploded and it completely changed. So there's a lot of toxicity that can exist within the entrepreneur, the CEO, the person that is running their business, because they have so much on the line that they generally tend to crack the whip with the people that they're working with because of that, right? And if you learn how to actually be loving and how to nurture your team and how to honor them in their dreams, they are going to serve you in a way, and I say this from personal experience with my own employees, that will shock you. They'll actually invest the same kind of energy that you do and put in extra hours, because for the first time, they're being loved and seen and valued in a way that they never have by any previous employer.
Right. So the basic advice is to switch from the stick back to the carrot, and
Lead with love.
right, and extend a culture of ownership, I guess. When you show others you care about them, they will work for you like you would work for you.
They work with you. It's the
Okay, gotcha.
languaging. When I'm talking to my team, I say, we are going to do this together. We are creating this together. We are thriving together. We are working together. You're not working for me. You're working with me. We are doing this. Then they claim ownership, because all of the languaging is about what we are doing. They're not doing it for me so I can thrive. And I get them to create a list of their weaknesses and their strengths and the things they want to learn as well. And from a personal standpoint as well, I want to know what your personal weaknesses are. I was just talking to my team last week, and I was talking about how it's important for them to be confident that I am a good leader and that I can help people if they're going out and promoting me. But if they're not in love with themselves and they're not confident in who they are, they're not able to show up with the capacity that I need them to. I need them to believe in themselves first and believe in the person that they're representing. So next week, I'm going to be doing confidence training with my team.
Okay, that's deep. There's a lot to unpack there, but I got it. But finally, Harmony, if you could leave anyone listening with one message about the power of EIS to transform their lives, regardless, what would it be?
You've got two paths you can choose. You've got the victim path, where you believe that everything is happening to you. You let your trauma rule you. You let that little child that's been begging for love inside you continue to beg for love, neglected. You can blow up your life. You can self-sabotage. You can have unsuccessful relationships. You can create a successful career and watch that blow up too. You can literally, I've seen too many people that have been on the victim path destroy everything around them to the point where they actually end up completely alone. So if you want to deny your pain, that's your future. I've seen it played over so many times. I'm not going to pander to you. If you want to be in the victim mindset and you want to blame everybody and everything for your circumstances, it's only going to get worse, because people don't like hanging around somebody who wants to blame everyone for everything. It's just not cool. It's not fun. Or you can walk the expansion path. You can fall in love with yourself. You can learn what a beautiful, diverse, powerful person that you are. You can create a life that makes your soul sing. Do those things in your soul, in your heart, that you've been dreaming about doing, but maybe you haven't told anybody because you're afraid to step into it. And you can create a beautiful life that is surrounded by people that you love and they love you, because you're accountable for your mistakes. You're learning and you're expanding. You apologize when you have emotional upheaval. You've developed emotional intelligence. You've developed energetic intelligence. You've developed strategy to love and honor those people around you. And you're doing something that makes you happy, and you've let go of being a performing monkey for everybody around you. And you're doing what makes your soul sing, which makes you happy. So everybody wants to be around you. And at the end of the day, at the end of your life, you're not left with regrets. I don't know which path you want to choose, but I know which one I'm on.
Well, I think it would be very helpful if the two paths that you had to choose were described exactly how you just described them, because it's usually not how they're described. They're, do it this way and succeed, and this way and fail. And they're not necessarily pointing to one or the other. With the depth of what you just said, that's not only is it powerful and good information, I feel pretty silly taking the first path. I mean, right? I mean, if I chose the first path, I probably wouldn't advertise that I was taking the first path, because I would fear looking like an idiot, because who would? But this is great. So much information. You are chock full. I mean, you can spit fire and talk deep about all of this stuff, and it's inspiring, and I love it. And I'm so grateful that I accidentally bumped into you and got you on my podcast, because I've been on a roll, and I'm having these great guests, and I'm like, well, how am I going to top that? How am I going to top that? Well, now you've given me an even greater problem. Now, how am I going to top that? But thank you so much. But before we go, can you maybe tell anybody listening how best to get in touch with you, or how they could hear more?
Yes, absolutely. I'm all over social media. You can just look up Harmony Woodington CHT. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of it. And in all of my social media, there is a link in my bio that gives you access to everything, including my offerings. And I'm absolutely happy to share the link with you so that you can put it in the podcast. So if people want to click on the link to take a look at the offerings that I've got, just so you guys know, there's books out there that I've published as well. I am a best-selling author, so you can go and you can check out my books. So my offerings and my teachings are here at all price points, depending on where you're at, so that you can learn at, the place that you're at, because I totally respect that, the cost of living is really high right now, and some people are just barely surviving. So if you can afford $20 to buy a book, or you're not in a position to spend money and you just want to go consume my social media right now to be inspired, I respect that. If you're in a position that you could only afford the group coaching, and you want something that's low, and you want to join a tribe and then go from there, or you want to taste test me before you do the one-on-one, my group coaching is there and you can do that. Or you can deep dive into the one-on-one and we can quantum leap. Totally up to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate this. And I know my listeners and my audience is going to really get a lot out of this. And thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you.
And everyone, see you guys next time. This has been Inappropriate Growth.